What's up, my said souls? This is your girl Evie coming back to you today. I'm so glad to be before you guys again, and thank you so much for stopping in. I just want to tell you today, well, the subject today is going to be 5 of my all-time favorite Halloween movies that I go to every single year. I know you guys have ones too, and I hope you comment below as to the ones that are so good for you and your family that you enjoy each and every year. Let's go ahead and get into it. Before we do that, I just want to say welcome. If you don't know the name of this channel, the name of this channel is because Evie said so, and guess what? I'm Evie. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's go ahead and bless our food. I know you guys see this display, this beautiful display. I have goblins, I have ghosts, I have cupcakes, I have Snickers and Kit Kats and M&Ms and Milky Ways and gummy bears and gummy worms and all kinds of chocolate and everything in front. And I really wish you guys could get a really good close-up of this particular display. Yes, 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 yes. I love Halloween. Now, as a mom, we don't really celebrate Halloween like, you know, traditional Halloween. I don't take my kids trick-or-treating. I used to take my kids trick-or-treating when they were younger, but since they've gotten bigger, I decided, why don't we just give out the candy? And so, in this pandemic, I know you guys are worried. Oops, taste that. I know you guys are worried as to what you're going to be able to do with your children with trick-or-treating. I suggest that you do it as safe as possible. Go to houses that you know. Everybody is trying to do things a little bit differently. It is a knack in here, y'all. And they're trying to do things differently where everybody can, anyway, so everybody can trick-or-treat. My house included, because what I intend to do is sanitize everything first, that's in packages, and put them in Ziploc bags. Once I put them in the Ziploc bags and I seal them, that's how the children are going to go ahead and get candy from us. But let's go and get into it. Let's go ahead and bless our food. Gracious Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that you've given us this food. I ask that you bless our friends and our families and everyone that come before us. And we thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. So, like I said, let's get into it. But before I do that, how y'all doing? How are y'all doing? What have you been doing? Okay. You know what? The weather here is changing. Like yesterday was cold. Today it was snowing. Okay. Snowing in Chicago. Not that I should be surprised, because the Windy City will put a trick on you, honey. It'll put a spell on you for real. Because one time it'll be 90 degrees and 2 hours later it'll be 45. So you know what? How can I be surprised, okay? But what's the weather like where you are? Leave a comment below. Let a girl know. You know I want to know. And also, let me know some of your all-time favorite go-to movies that you go to during Halloween for you and your kids. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about some spooky things. Ooh, let's get right into it. Thank you, guys. HalloweenTown. That's one of my number ones. I love the HalloweenTown series. I try to watch it every year with my daughters. Now, sometimes they don't want to watch it. And teenagers, that's what they do. But you know what? I watch it because it's my favorite. It's one of the things we were able to do when they were kids, and we were, it held their attention. But let's describe it a little bit for you if you've never seen the movie. HalloweenTown has a series of 4 different movies. It has HalloweenTown 1998 is when it came out. It has HalloweenTown 2, Calabar's Revenge, came out in 2001. HalloweenTown High, which came out in 2004, and Return to HalloweenTown, which came out in 2006. Now, it's a fantasy movie. And the fantasy movie is about beings such as witches, warlocks, vampires, the werewolves, mummies, ghosts, trolls, ogres, zombies, skeletons, goblins. They have an alternative universe to us. They're separated from humans, and they call that HalloweenTown because they don't think the humans will be able to understand what, they are and be able to participate on a regular basis as everybody should. And I love this movie because it's just a good human, down-to-earth movie. Now, in HalloweenTown, to escape humans' fear and persecutions, these creatures, or characters, as they would love to be called, created their own community, HalloweenTown, 1,000 years ago. And the story goes, the Cromwell Well, the Cromwell Piper family is important. They're like a royal witch wizard family. And it's so important, and we eventually find out why. Now, the family matriarch named Agatha Cromwell has been a pillar of HalloweenTown society for centuries. Her daughter, Gwen Piper, married a mortal like us, and she chose to leave HalloweenTown for a life in the mortal world. But unfortunately, Gwen's husband passes away, and she's left with 3 children to raise on her own, Marnie, Dylan, and Sophie. So she decides to raise them without magic. Now, if I had magic, I'd be doing magic all the time. I'd be like, magic wash the dishes, magic fold the clothes. Okay, magic go get the mail. Yes, a girl will be doing that, because if I had magic, I'd be using it to benefit me and my family. But apart from the magic, she also rejects contact with the HalloweenTown itself and the influence of her mother, who happens to be the matriarch, and they're in a very powerful family. So we decide that we move into the movie, and we see that her eldest daughter, Marnie, remember I mentioned Marnie, is about to come into her powers. She's 13 now, and she's bound and determined to find out if she's a witch or not, because she heard a private conversation between her mom and her grandma. Yes, she was fine, okay? But she heard what she heard, and they said what they said. As the movie goes, we see how Marnie and her brother and her sister solve a mystery in HalloweenTown. So there's some trouble. There's some trouble brewing in HalloweenTown. So not only do they need to leave the mortal world to go to HalloweenTown, but when they get there, there's some trouble. They end up helping their grandmother. You're going to want to find out how they helped their grandmother and what actually happened to them. It's on Disney Plus right now. Check out all 4 movies, and you'll see why it's in my top 5. Moving on. So moving on, my next one would be the Harry Potter series. Okay, please don't tell me you don't know who Harry Potter is. Okay, if you don't know who Harry Potter is, you are missing out. Oh my God, Harry Potter is one of my favorites. And there's 7 films. There are 8 books. I've read them all. I was waiting for the movies to come out, and the Harry, Hermione, and Ron happen to be friends. Professor McGonagall is one of my favorites. Dumbledore is one of my favorites. Snape, that's my boy, and Hagrid. Okay, the Sorcerer's. Let me first of all tell you about the 7 movies, okay? And I'm going to name them all for you. The Sorcerer's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, The Prisoner of Azkaban, The Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, The Deathly Hallows 1, and The Deathly Hallows 2. I mean, come on. It's a series of series. It's almost as good to me as Lord of the Rings, but we'll get that on another time. Let's talk about Harry. Harry Potter is an orphan boy who was brought up in an unkind Muggle family, and Muggle being non-magical, his aunt and uncle raised him because his parents died. But they have nothing to do with magic, and they treat Harry terribly. So, at the age of 11, Rubeus Hagrid shows up after Harry Potter is receiving mail from the place that wants to have him to come to school. Well, the uncle's not having it. He's like, I'm not letting you do magic. So he destroys all of the letters. He eventually takes Harry and his family someplace so far away that he thinks the mail won't get to him. But guess what? Magic always wins. So Rubeus Hagrid, who happens to be a half-giant, informs Harry, you're actually a wizard, Harry, and that his parents were murdered by an evil wizard named Lord Voldemort. Voldemort also attempted to kill 1-year-old Harry on the same night that he killed his parents. But his killing curse mysteriously rebounded, and Harry lived. I mean, that's a story right there. But Harry becomes extremely famous in the wizarding world as a result, because he's the boy that lived. Okay? Now, Harry begins his first year at Hogwarts, School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Preface, I'm not a witch. I don't believe in witchcraft, but Hogwarts is all about goodness, and it's all about learning. And I love it. I love the way J.K. Rowling set it up. I love that she wrote this particular books, and then she elaborated. The books are wonderful. But let's get back to Hogwarts. Hogwarts School of Witch and Wizardry. The headmaster is Dumbledore, one of my favorites. Dumbledore is a very powerful wizard. As a matter of fact, probably the most powerful wizard that there has ever been. So, you know, Harry goes there. He becomes friends with Hermione Granger. She's a witch who happens to be human or a muggle, and Ron Weasley, who is also a wizard. Now, between all three of them, they go through so many adventures together, each one being more and more dangerous. Each time they go through an adventure, Harry is trying to find his own. He's trying to find out why Lord Voldemort is trying to kill him. Okay? Will Voldemort kill Harry? Does Professor Dumbledore, the headmaster of the school, know how to keep Harry safe? These movies are worth watching. They're worth watching. I have all the books, like I said. I read them all. They were so good. Get the books if you don't have them. Harry and his friends meet several wonderful people along the way, and you have to see them all. I'm going to drop a hint in there. I love Dobby. Find out who Dobby is. You guys will love him. Like I said, in the middle of a pandemic, there are a lot of things that we can do. Maybe we can't go outside. Maybe we can't go to the movies, but we can bring the movies to us. And I suggest a Harry Potter series. Like I said, there's 7 movies. It'll keep you engaged. Check them all out. They're on Peacock this month for free. Okay? So go to Peacock. It's free for this month to be able to watch all the Harry Potter series. I'm sure they have a cost after that. I believe it's like $4.99 a month. But you know what? Get it while the getting is good. Go ahead and check it out. Watch it with your kids. They're going to be entertained, and they're going to fall in love with Harry. Okay, so that was number 2. Number 3 is Twitches, and Twitches 2. Go Twitches, go Twitches, go Twitches, go Twitches. Came out in 2005 and 2007 with my girls Tia and Tamara Mori, who are actually twins in real life, identical. Now, they star in the 2 series movies, because it has 2 movies in it, and this is how the plot goes. In the magical dimension of Coventry, the royal witch, Miranda, gives birth to identical daughters on Halloween night. She names them Apollo and Artemis, after the Olympic twins, which are the gods of the sun and the moon. Apollo wears an amulet necklace, and in her amulet necklace, it's in the shape of the sun, and Artemis wears an amulet in the shape of a moon. Now, what happens to them is the darkness is trying to kill them. It kills their father, unfortunately. He was a very powerful warlock, Aaron DeBar, and he transfers the entirety of his magical powers to his identical daughters on Halloween night so that they can survive. Now, they grow up separated from their mom because their helpers that are supposed to be watching over them take them while the darkness is chasing them, okay? The darkness is trying to get them. So they eventually escape. These helpers drop them off at 2 different hospitals in 2 different places. So eventually they are adopted by other people. And their names become Cameron and Alex. Now, can you imagine having a twin in the world that you've never seen, and one day you actually walk into that person? Mind blown, okay? I know they say everybody has a doppelganger, but in this case, they actually had a twin. So to protect them from the evil entity of the darkness, their father, he had to die, and also they had to be protected and taken somewhere else. Now, we fast forward to their 21st birthday, because on the 21st birthday, they eventually discover each other and that they're identical twins. Like I said, running into your identical twin, come on now. That had to be amazing. And it also had to be kind of scary because you meet someone that looks exactly like you. Okay, what do? Well, they talk. They get to know each other, and they also soon learn they're not from traditional Earth, but from a magical land called Coventry. Now, and they're witches with powers. Can you imagine? You have a twin. Now you've discovered that being with that identical twin, you actually have powers. Okay, now Coventry is plagued by the darkness because even though it killed their father, it's still out there. And they, as witches, are the only ones that can combat the darkness together. They have to do it together. We see them weave between both worlds during their adventures to save their birth home and their birth mom. Do they do it? How? You should check it out. Check it out. Twitches 2 is also on Disney. You can watch both of these movies on the Disney Channel, Disney Plus right now. Your children are going to love it. I'm sure you guys know what Disney Plus is. I believe it's like $7 a month if you have Hulu. If you don't have Hulu, I think it's a little bit more. But you know what? I totally enjoy Disney Plus because not only does it have Halloween movies on it right now, it has Marvel movies, it has Star Wars movies on there, it has stuff from National Geographic, etc., etc., etc. Any movie that you pretty much had watched while you were a child, Cinderella, anything like that, The Little Mermaid, all of that stuff is on Disney. Check it out. I know you guys want to know what happened. Leave a comment below when you find out, okay? Now, number 4 of my go-to Halloween movies. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I love Charlie Brown and all the Peanuts characters. What can I say? The plot, the music, I love it all. It originally aired on October the 27th, 1966. Okay, that was before I was born, but I don't care because Charlie Brown, okay? It's Charlie Brown. I love him. Now, in The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, we find fall in full swing. The Peanuts gangs are getting ready for Halloween. Linus and Lucy go out to the local pumpkin patch to find a pumpkin. Same things I've done with my children before. We find good pumpkins and we put them out. But in this case, Lucy picks the largest one that she can find, and she makes Linus, her brother, get it back to the house. Now, Linus believes in the Great Pumpkin, so he's upset because he thinks that Lucy is going to kill the pumpkin and make it into a jack-o'-lantern. Well, that's not his plan. No, he's scared because he believes that the Great Pumpkin is going to come and bring him candy on Halloween. So he writes a letter to him every year. Waiting, expecting, watching to see if the Great Pumpkin is going to actually come and leave him some candy. Now, Lucy gets upset. Lucy is Linus's sister, and she gets upset because he believes in the Great Pumpkin and she doesn't. So even though Charlie Brown doesn't believe, and Snoopy just laughs at him so hard, okay, a real belly laugh, Peppermint Patty even tells him that the Great Pumpkin is a fake. And even his own sister Lucy, like I said it's a fake. Now, she often threatens to pound you. I'm gonna pound you, is what she says. So Snoopy helps Charlie Brown finish raking a pile of leaves. Linus jumps into the heap of leaves with the lollipop. And I bring that up because that particular scene is so about innocence. Can you imagine when you were young in the fall, when your parents were raking the leaves, did you ever jump in the pile? I know I did. I jumped in the middle because the pile would get so high. It was like calling to me. So I jumped in the pile. And then, of course, you got to re-rake the leaves. So, but anyway, it's all about innocence. It's all about love. It's all about discovery. And even though Lucy entices Charlie Brown to kick a football, as she always does, he gets the same results. She always takes the football from under him. No matter how many times that she says she's not going to do it, she still does it. So Sally, who happens to be Charlie Brown's younger sister, she loves Linus. So she believes him. So does the Great Pumpkin show up? Well, You're going to have to see for yourself. Check it out on Apple TV, Apple TV Plus, which has now become the exclusive home of all the Peanut specials. I know, right? It used to be on TV for free every year since 1966. All of a sudden, Apple has gotten the rights to Charlie Brown and all of the entities that belong to him. So, you want to see Charlie Brown this year? Check it out on Apple TV. Now, my fifth movie that I just go to every year, Hocus Pocus. Come on now, Hocus Pocus. Came out in 1993. The townsfolk, led by Thackeray's friend Elijah, eventually get these witches. But let's go back a little bit. It's become a favorite fantasy classic, which it aired every year since it actually came out. The film follows 3 bad witches who are resurrected by a teenage boy in Salem, Massachusetts. When the movie starts, we learn that on October the 31st, 1693, in Salem, Massachusetts, Thackeray Binks sees his little sister, Emily Binks, being taken away to the cottage of the 3 witches. There, the Sanderson sisters, Winifred, Sarah, and Mary, they cast a spell on Emily to absorb her youth and regain their own. But in that process, they end up killing her. And Thackeray confronts the witches. He's the brother. He's trying to save his sister. He loves his sister. And he does all that he can in order to save his sister, but to no avail because she ends up dying anyway. Let me get a drink, y'all. We are drinking on some mango lemonade. Mango lemonade. See that? Oh my gosh, I'm so thirsty. Let me get back to the story. Let me take this thing off, y'all. Give me patience. Give me a couple seconds here. Yep. Okay, so let's get back to the witches. What happened again? I know you like, back up, back up. What happened? Well, Emily Binks was tricked into coming to the 3 witches' cottage. In that time, the 3 witches absorbed her youth and regained their own because they were 3 old witches, and they killed her in the process. Thackeray, who was her brother, confronted the witches, and they transformed him into an immortal black cat. Witches. Witches, witches, witches. Let's see what this witch does. Isn't that cute, you guys? Isn't that cute? But let me tell you what my ghost says, then we'll get back to the story. Oh my gosh. Okay, the cuteness level, the cuteness level. Yes. So anyway, he's turned into an immortal cat. But not just that, the guilt that he has to live with because he couldn't save his sister. He's cursed forever to think about that. Now, the townsfolk, led by Thackeray's friend Elijah and his father, they do capture the witches and they hang them. But before they hang them, Winifred casts a spell that says, during the full moon on All Hallows Eve, when the Virgin lights the black flame candle, we will return. And she gives them that curse right before she's hanged. Unable, and Thackeray is actually there when she places that curse, but he's a cat. He's unable to convince his father of his true identity because he's a cat, okay? So Thackeray decides to guard the cottage to ensure that no one summons the witches. 300 years later, on October the 31st, 1993, on Halloween, we see Max Dennison, who has just moved to Salem, Massachusetts, from his home in Los Angeles, California. Him and his family have just moved there. He's trying to adjust, People in his class start talking about the Sanderson sisters and the curse that's placed on the cottage. And they celebrate Halloween so traditionally. They celebrate it so much. To this day, in Salem, Massachusetts, they have all kinds of festivals for witches. And all kinds of, because, you know, witches were hung there, witches were killed there. People actually thought they were witches, even though some actually weren't. And they were killed there in Salem, Massachusetts so many years ago. So Max Dennison, 300 years later, moves to this town. He's out of place, but he decides it's Halloween. After prompting by his parents, he takes his little sister trick-or-treating to get some candy, y'all. To get all kinds of candy. Woo! I got all kinds of candy here. I got some Whoppers and some Reese's and some Snickers, Almond Joys. We got Milky Ways. We got more Snickers. We got gummy worms, gummy bears, all kinds of cupcakes. We got pudding here and everything. Oh my God. If I eat all this stuff, guys, I'm gonna die. I am not gonna eat all this stuff because it's gonna raise up my sugar. Okay? And then I'm gonna be out of it. But let's get back to the story. Now, he takes his younger sister trick-or-treating when they run into Max's new crush, Allison, from his class. He likes her, but of course, as a boy, young boys, they don't know how to talk to women. They don't know how to talk to us. So he has a crush. They end up going trick-or-treating with his sister, end up at Allison's house. Allison's house is decked out to the nines, and so what he does to try to impress Allison is he invites her to show him the Sanderson house to convince him that the witches are actually real. Now, inside the Sanderson cottage, which is now a dusty, neglected museum, Max lights the black flame candle, y'all, and inadvertently resurrects the witches. Come on now. Okay. Why? Okay. Leave stuff alone. But he does, and he happens to be a virgin, so that is everything that they need in order to come back. Not only do they come back, but the witches attempt to suck out the soul of Danny, his little sister. But Max comes to the rescue. He escapes with Allison, with Danny, and he steals Winifred's spell book because Zachary tells him to get the book. And then he goes by the name of Binks. Instead of being called Zachary, I know because Zachary is hard to remember, he says, just call me Binks. I think Binks is so cute. B-I-N-X. The witches chase them to the cemetery. But as we know from previous other movies, cemeteries are holy ground. So they can't come in. But Winifred, one of the sister witches, raises her unfaithful lover, Billy Butcherson, who is now a zombie, and he chases them on foot. Will the witches catch Max? Will they get his sister Danny? You can find out, because if you watch Disney Plus, it's on there right now. If you watch Freeform, it's on there right now. They show this every year. Hocus Pocus. It is a great movie from start to finish. The witches are hilarious in things that they do. It's comedy, it's love, it's light, and it's laughter, and I love it. So Hocus Pocus is my number 5 go-to movie for Halloween every year. Those are my favorites. I watch them every year with my daughters. We eat popcorn and Halloween cookies, and we even have some taffy apples, y'all. What are your favorites? Comment below. You know a girl want to know, what are your favorite go-to Halloween movies every year? Do you do really scary movies? Woo! Or do you do light movies? Do you watch the movies with your children? Or do you not? What are the ones you grew up with and you loved? Comment below, because I sure would love to see it. I hope you and your family participate in a safe and healthy Halloween. Most cities have trick-or-treat hours, and with the pandemic, people are trying to find very safe ways to give children the candy, my house included. I love you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I believe all will be well. God is still in control, and you should believe that. Why? Because he is, and because Evie said so. Kisses, y'all. Have a happy Halloween. Be safe out there. I love ya.